Knights of the Damned is a 2017 fantasy film directed by Simon Wells and written by Ben Lloyd Holmes and James Morelli Green. The film follows a group of knights, led by Holmes playing George. Their mission is to save the 12 kingdoms by slaying a fearsome dragon, and going by the definition of the film, you'd assume that was the main plot, with an army of the dead being a subplot. However, the film chooses to switch goals rather fast. Well, in a land of warrior women, strange monsters, and modern lighting, let's get them dragon hearts roasting. This is Knights of the Damned. The film opens with George narrating, and some good landscape shots, along with some random battle and a bunch of people on boats that somehow look out of place considering the rest of the film. Through the narration, we learn that they did number 12, but the dragons scaled them down to what the budget could afford. But hey, our knights are ready and willing to fight the beast, who shows up on time for the challenge.
With your permission, sir, I will leave. Wait for it. You have a death wish.
The CGI is below Dragon Force, but above Dracula 3D. Yes, that's my scale for judging CGI. I don't think that's why they called them heater shields, but whatever. So the dragon flees, taking out James, played by Adrian Boucher. Takes him out long enough for his brothers to leave his corpse and chase a dragon anyways.
Relive again!
Yeah, that isn't ever explained. Oh ho ho! A wall of text in my fantasy film? Daring today, aren't we? I do have to admit, it's rather bold to leave smudges all over the text you expect us to read. Well, it fills us in that there's 12 kingdoms. I think a 13th Dark Kingdom, and the land is called Nathroth, which I really want to call Nosgoth. And good job for describing something that sounds like a pretty cool film. While Nathroth might not have any vampires, as far as I'm aware, they do have some other undead. Though how much they're zombies and how much they're something like a Draugr, that line's pretty blurred. So anyways, our knights are led by George, his trusted brother Richard, played by Rosso Hennessy, and the eager knight Thomas, played by Silvio Samac. Wait a minute, so we have the Lord of Bones and Leon from Dead or Alive in a fantasy film? Well, alright. If he pumps himself up by cocking his arms like they're guns, I'm giving this film a point. Well, a quick stop to bathe leads to an overly long sequence of Richard and Thomas encountering some river mermaids. Hey there, handsome. I might be a Pacific Ocean 5, but I'm a Mississippi River 9. I really have to ask what they're doing just staring at each other. These are supposedly elite knights, but they just stand there while the actresses try not to catch a cold. Luckily, some unseen help is able to cut this short. Oh, and meanwhile George has a stare down with a wolf for fucking I don't know what reason.
This is dark magic, George. The darkest.
While I can't say I've personally encountered any mermaids, I feel like fighting a fucking dragon should mentally prepare you for something like this. Now you might be thinking I'm a bit harsh, however, the line is immediately followed up with this.
This I fear penetrates even the castle walls. George, this is deeper. This we should have fear of.
And later, while riding along, they encounter a random undead with borderline no reaction.
Leprosy, some kind of sickness.
Seek religious counsel. Many gods and their servants will tend to you.
Now I want you, yes, you, to remember the last tavern scene you saw in a medieval property, be it game or movie, history or fantasy. Right. Now how many of those do you imagine a soft pop song being played in universe?
Hey, baby, won't you come on over when the sun is shining bright? I promise you that I think.
Some people complained about the guitar, but I just can't get over how out of place that song is. Well, it's here our band meet another band of all-female warriors from a distant land. And at least one decent line.
You say you're not here to spy. You're very well informed.
Your reputation precedes you.
Wait, how come mine doesn't?
While Thomas and one of the warriors head off, we get a fun montage with the fun modern country pop song.
As long as I got you now, no.
Come on. Come on, baby. I just want out.
I'm I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I genuinely thought about turning this film off right here. We're like 20 minutes into the film and it has managed to drag into feeling like 40 minutes with a plot suffering dementia. A brief bar brawl breaks out for what it's worth. Meanwhile, Thomas is attacked by a zombie. I feel like this is worth mentioning, and no one suspects Bite's turn, but nah, he'll be fine. Time to hit the road. A quick cut over to what I presume is a castle introduces us to Prince Fabian, played by John Paul Gates, and Princess Elizabeth, played by Rebecca Dyson Smith. Fabian here is a man who woke up every day thinking about how he could chew the scenery. Meanwhile, Elizabeth, I think she got a different script from everyone else.
We are losing men to unseen...
I am happy with our current strategy.
You're right. No amount of fury, blood, or any other plague can match what sears my eyes and haunts my ears within these walls.
It should be way more hilarious to me that you're both together for 90% of your screen time. Well, anyways, bad news comes in and Fabian goes, blah blah, I can't hear you. Well, his sister goes, heavy doth my heart feel to bear these grave tidings. We get another cut of what looks like footage of either LARPing or Battle of Nations. Is that what I'm looking at? It's just that comparing the look of what I see here with the characters throughout the film so far, I have to wonder if they blew the budget on hiring a local reenactor group or something. Let's just tune back in with our merry trio.
These rumors are of the dead fighting with unquenchable thirst. They're too prolific for us to ignore.
The dead. Ridiculous.
Wait, so you've been fighting a dragon for months, and you've clearly encountered mermaids, and who knows what else, but undead is where you draw the line. I don't know if saying this film can't hold a tone is the correct choice of word, but it feels so uneven. They even have a goddamn dark kingdom clearly established and known of. These are supposedly the king's elite men. I've seen the trailers for the next film. This is trying to be high fantasy. Oh, but wait, we need to pad out this just under an hour and a half film with this jobber and his sister wife? I honestly couldn't tell. I was bored and the spear is some Chinese shit that is clearly not intended for hunting, and the film crew must have picked it up at a local strip mall anime store. I know. I've seen this one. I don't know why, since the armor and arms, well, not great, at least appeared grounded to a European design with hints of fantasy staples like the leather armor. Well, the only thing of note is that this is a ninja dragon.
Millicent! No! Run!
And I do mean dragon, as this is almost 6-minute long scene of fucking nothing. Its sole purpose is just to remind us that the dragon exists, which, by the way, is the plot. It's the plot the movie forgot about, but it's the plot. Honestly, the dream sequence with George of Arabia was more than enough to remind me. Oh, and Thomas is going a bit rabid from the bite.
You were sleepwalking again. Only this time fighting as well.
Well, he's not the only one getting physical, as Fabian is showing off a bit of his violent side. Oh, and I want you to take note that the soldier Nicholas was an inch away from stepping in. Just keep that in mind, because this film will not, and the sequel will not. Back with the 3-man band, they decide to dismount and leave their horses for reasons and investigate a village. Somehow, despite all the bumbling around, it takes like 5 minutes for zombies to start pouring in. We finally get a proper fight, and it ain't good. Don't get me wrong, I've seen worse fight choreography, but when I can clearly see that you stabbed off to the side, we have a problem. A little bit of cropping was all you needed to do. Also, I find it funny how earlier they were all big on holding formation, but here they decide to split up and run around. They don't even try to stay near each other. I think the idea was to imply a large number of undead, but the close-ups and keeping everyone isolated ends up making it feel much smaller than it would have been if they just pulled off a small street fight similar to the market fight in The Witcher. Well, after a whole ton of that, our heroes run from the village. So why did they abandon their horses? I mean, hell, you could have solved the problem by having them ride into the village and disembark to investigate the nearby buildings, then just have the zombies cut them off or simply imply the horses are dead. Oh, and speaking of dead, these are the type of undead that you can't kill, only delay. They're like NPCs in a game that makes them essential, so you just knock them into a down state, but they never truly die. More padding from extra shots, and we meet back up with our female warrior friends. This leads to another large quote-unquote fight, which suffers from everything wrong with the last one. I will say that on the positive side, some of the actors come off fine, and it's cool to see some underused weapons like the buckler. Cool as that is, it just cannot balance out everything wrong. Remember earlier when I mentioned the cropping would have fixed the stab to some extent? Well, right here a bit of trimming would have hid the fact that the extra had to stand there before leaping in. These aren't one-shots, or even super complex fights. I think you'd survive just fine cutting to when someone is in motion instead of leaving in that extra second. One of the warrior women dies in a bloodless death that reminds me of Uwe Boll's House of the Dead. And eventually they reach the castle, dropping Thomas, who I guess has succumbed to his infection. Virus voodoo thing. Oh, and Fabian reveals that he's evil if you didn't know, and I guess controlling the undead or something. Also, George is in love with the princess who Fabian wanted to get a little Lannister with. This film's hitting some territory I did not expect.
When I wanted you to lay with me.
I'm your sister, Fabian.
And while he chews the scenery, he does give one of the most heartfelt performances in this film.
Even your own father.
Everyone!
Eventually, someone in the castle decides to open the door and let the remaining party in, while Fabian escapes with a dragon egg. Oh yeah, there's dragons in this film. I kind of forgot. And Under Siege Castle, my ass, they just ran out the back door. It's not even a secret path. Of course, it looks like Fabian has upgraded his civilization to the colonial era, so I guess he does have higher base stats. Well, despite clearly showing that the castle is apparently under siege and may even have threats inside, time to take those dragon eggs Fabian didn't take with him and send Ralph here to escort the princess out. Also, yes, this is a different soldier from Nicholas, who I guess just fucked off. I don't know, it just seems a little weird to give him a character moment and then just drop him from the film with another dude who, honestly, the first time around I thought was him.
I don't trust him.
Oh, great. They don't trust him, and they'll leave him with the princess. How long until... yeah, that's what, under 30 seconds? Now, for reasons I'm not entirely sure of, they split up with one of the warrior chicks staying with George to defend the empty castle? I don't know, but it leads to a fight, and I guess it's supposed to be a cool last stand that is interrupted by the arrival of the dragon. Remember him? Well, one tuck tail later, and the amassed horde is burnt to a cinder. They live and meet up with the princess, giving the cliffhanger line.
We must rally the troops and protect the people. There's a war coming.
Well, that's if they finish this trilogy. Oh, and Fabian has a little dragon pal. So that was Knights of the Dam. Now, seeing what could be achieved with 1 million back with Dragon Force in just a couple weeks, you have to wonder what this film's budget was. Well, according to IMDb, it was estimated at £6,300,000, or roughly $8,020,000 USD. Fucking where? Okay, so the costumes were okay at best, and the 10 seconds worth of random battle footage looked good. Maybe renting out the 2 rooms in the garden of the castle cost a bit. Where did the rest of it go? Was the guitar strummer who couldn't sing that pricey? The effects on the zombies are clearly stick-on makeup, the likes of which you can get at Spirit Halloween, or really any halfway decent Halloween store. Fighting is a mess with a few glimpses of okay moments and a truckload of shit. Poor camera angles and what I hope are editing mistakes lead to us seeing all the wrong stuff. It actually made me wish I was watching Dead or Alive. At least I remember enjoying that movie to some extent. The plot forgets where it's going constantly, and characters are reset repeatedly just to have them artificially act shocked over what they're seeing. Is there a dragon? I don't know. The movie clearly can't decide. It's there, and then it's gone, only to reappear to kill some nobody fuckers and then disappear until the end of the film. I can respect the people who came together and, made something that is truly special. But just because we can all shit in the same toilet does not a masterpiece make. Frankly, the most interesting part of this film is finding out it has Leon, and that the dude banging on the door before getting killed is the director. That and playing I Spy with all the modern bits of artwork and equipment in the scenes. Did anyone on this film even try to hide it? No, I do not suggest this film, and I'm rather dreading going into the sequel. At the very least, it appears to have better makeup. Knights of the Dam is a fitting title for a movie that is clearly damned.
To fight with such heroism is a thing of beauty, Thomas. You do that every day.
Are you saying I'm a thing of beauty, George?
You're a brother in arms. Let us leave it at that.